all for our weekly Ramayana class. So we are in the midst of the 7th chapter of the Valmiki Ramayan, BAALKANDA, and we are completed up to the 11th verse. So it's a description about the various ministers of Ayodhya. Dashrath Maharaj's ministers' qualities are defined very nicely in this chapter. उनके गुण के बारे में बात किया गया है, and how nicely these people are handling the kingdom, managing the kingdom, and that is what is highlighted over here. So please, can you read from 10, Mataji? Just we'll have a little recap.
Yes, Prabhuji. Those ministers were capable in their dealings, and their friendship was tested out by the king, who would award punishment even to their children according to the time and situation. The ministers would always be engaged in the collection of wealth for the treasury and for maintaining the armies. They would not harm even an unfriendly person as long as that person had not done any offense.
So the first 7.10, we just like to reiterate this word that they were so strict that they would punish their own children. उनके खुद के बच्चों को भी अगर गलती किया हो तो उनको भी वो दंड देते. You know, it is talking against the rules, today's present days rules. आज कैसा है, बड़े बाप का बेटा है, मेरा पहचान है, मैं गलत कार्य कर रहा हूँ, उससे बचने का मेरे को मुझे कोई तकलीफ नहीं है. I have no tension. I can simply come out of the problem because my father is some big personality. But here we see that even the biggest of the personalities were very strict, and when found guilty, even if their own son or daughter was found guilty, they used to be punished. Yes, continue, Mataji. 12.
The ministers were brave, always enthusiastic, disciplined in the art of warfare, and were always engaged in protecting the good citizens.
So the ministers are also warriors themselves. Huh? They were brave. That's it. It takes bravery to take a strong decision. Now one may wonder why. What is the need for a minister to be brave? उसको थोड़ी कोई युद्ध में जाना है. So please understand, it's not the question of bravery. It's not the question of war. It's a question of how decisions have to be taken. Bold decisions have to be taken, which may sometimes feel absurd also, but they used to take those decisions. Please continue.
Those ministers used to fill up the treasury without troubling the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas. They would give heavy punishment for a person's faults after observing his strengths and weaknesses. The ministers were all clean-minded people with similar thinking while administering the people. Neither in the city nor in the villages was there anyone who speaks a lie, who would speak a lie.
You know, speaking a lie was a big sin. आजकल बच्चे मुंह खोलते हैं तो भी झूठी बोलते हैं. So see the corollary, see the difference in that era and this era. Please read the explanation, Mataji.
In this chapter and the earlier chapter, we have seen the virtuous qualities of various individuals. During the Treta Yuga, in the kingdom of Ayodhya, people were quite different from those in the current Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, people tend to tell more lies and have a more cheating and cunning mentality. The purpose of mentioning these good qualities is to reflect the virtues of the Treta Yuga, while the qualities we see in Kali Yuga today are typically characteristics of this era. Everything in Kali Yuga is downgraded. So we see a reduced inclination of people towards devotion compared to earlier yugas. People have more faith in themselves and think they are the ones who do everything. They are reluctant to accept the supremacy of God. This is the drawback in today's time.
So what we see is the difference in eras. 4 युग थे, rather हैं, सतयुग, त्रेता, द्वापर, and कलयुग. And why we don't see these qualities are missing? Why? This is because of the predominance of the gunas, the 3 modes of nature, 3 gunas. उसके ऊपर पूरा आधारित है. I'll give a small explanation so that you will understand this. In Satyuga, what was predominant? Satogun, mode of goodness. जहाँ पे हर व्यक्ति धर्म का पालन करते हुए जीता. So that is what is Satyuga. But in Satyuga, it was Sataguna was farly prevalent. When Treta Yuga came, Satoguna started getting mixed with Rajoguna. Now, what is the quality of Rajoguna basically? Anger, deceit, and too much of greed. And that was exhibited by Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi was so greedy. That's what they are trying to show. I mean, there's a different story. Kaikeyi was not a bad lady. But here, if you see the Asuras, when Ravana was basically greedy for more. He wanted all the women in the world. He wanted with him under him. He wanted everything under him. There was nothing which he didn't desire for, and that is the first quality of Rajoguna. In Satoguna, people were only against Vishnu. In Rajoguna, people were against Vishnu, but they were more in collecting more worldly things. And in Dwapar Yuga, what happened in Dwapar Yuga? It was a mixture of Rajoguna with Tamoguna. And in Kali Yuga, what do you see? Only Tamoguna. There is no Satoguna, there is no Rajoguna, there is only Tamoguna. So this is why people of Satyug or Dwapar or even Treta to an extent seem to be different to the Kali Yuga people. The Kali Yuga people approach itself is in the mode of ignorance. And what is in the mode of ignorance? What is the biggest tragedy in the mode of ignorance? People run away from don't accept the existence of God. Atheism is highly prevalent in Kali Yuga, which was not there in earlier yugas. If at all, it was very less, nominal, marginal. But now in Kali Yuga, you will see there's a boom in atheism. I see many people, whenever I go out to preach and all, I meet many youngsters. They tell, sir, I'm not interested in all this. We are basically atheist. Atheist. Now, what is the meaning of atheism? Even they don't know that also. But they feel great pride in calling themselves atheist. So the point is, you have to understand that these qualities are prevalent on the various yugas. And that is why we find the quality of the people and the attitude of the people to be much different in different yugas. So this characteristic which we are seeing in Treta Yuga, where the ministers were only working for the betterment of the country, for the betterment of the citizens, for the betterment of the people, and governing it very nicely, because that time there was a mixture of Satoguna and Rajoguna. Rajoguna was there, but it was literally minimal and maximum of Satoguna. Please continue, Mataji.
Not only in Ayodhya, the best of its cities, but in the entire kingdom, the men were never attracted to others' wives. They were all peaceful, and happiness prevailed over the entire kingdom. Explanation, should I read?
Yeah.
Srimad Bhagavatam talks about the drawbacks of Kali Yuga. It says, Prayana alpa ayushya sabhya kalava asmina yuge janaha manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya hi upadritaha. In Kali Yuga, the lifespan of people in general will be short. They will be dull-headed, unfortunate, and will always be in trouble. It is said that those who follow bad habits are not even considered human beings, but animals. Being free from these vices is a prerequisite for entering the path of devotion. The reason for people being disturbed all the time in Kali Yuga is that they are always contemplating how to enjoy more and better. In this verse, the people of the entire kingdom were happy and peaceful because they controlled themselves from the bad habits.
So basically, happiness. Who wants to be happy in this world? I think everyone wants to be happy, but no one is happy. The one who is rich is also not happy. One who is poor is not happy. So who is going to be happy? One who can control his senses is the secret formula of happiness. जो व्यक्ति अपने इंद्रियों पे कंट्रोल कर सकता है. If one controls his senses, he will definitely be happy. One who cannot control his senses can never be happy. And the first thing, what was a great quality? What was there? Not only in Ayodhya, the best of the cities, but the entire kingdom, the men were never attracted to other women. See, these four principles: meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling, they are always prevalent in all the eras, but it is maximum in, you may say, Ravana wanted to kidnap Sita. Why? That was his demonic quality. In every yuga, you will see people attracted to these four bad vices: meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. And those who follow these four things, though in a human body, are not to be considered humans. They are as good as animals. And now, when Kali Yuga, we see that everyone is glued to these four bad vices. The main purpose of earning money itself is to enjoy your senses, and that too the wrong way. And this leads to a vicious cycle of karma. They are called as Ugra karma. These four things: meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling, they are called as Ugra karma or Mahapapa. And these Mahapapa, very difficult. एक जन्म नहीं, कई जन्म निकल जाएंगे आपको अपने पाप धोते धोते. और इसी कलयुग में रहते रहते व्हाट यू विल डू? पहले पाप धो रहे हो और नए पाप कर रहे हो. That is the reason why, Valmiki ji specifically mentioned. See, one will wonder why Valmiki wrote this entire Ramayana in 24,000 shlokas when it could be written in hardly 500 shlokas. 500 or 1,000 shlokas, easily it could be made. What is the purpose of writing all this? By the way, what is the purpose of itihasas and Puranas? What is the purpose? Why was it written? Yeah.
To explain the Vedas.
To explain the Vedas. So what is the Vedas? Vedas is the ultimate law book for the humans, for a human life. But the problem is, वेदों को समझने में कोई गड़बड़ हो गया तो. People are not expert in Sanskrit, nor they are intellectually inclined or bound, nor most of the people don't want to follow the guru also. They don't want to have a guru. Why should I have a guru? If I have a guru, it's a headache. I have to follow rules. If I am my own guru, I don't have to follow any rules and regulations. So without a guru, without a Brahminical knowledge, one cannot read the Vedas, and still it is difficult. Even if one reads the Vedas, it is still difficult for one to understand the Vedas. So to simplify that, this explanation of Ramayana, Mahabharata, Itihasas, they are called as Itihasas, history, and your Puranas. Various Puranas, 18 Puranas are there. They have been mentioned. Now, I'll just give you a small example to understand this. Just imagine you're taking a small kid and you're trying to teach him. A friend in need is a friend indeed. कहावत है ना, सुना है? स्कूल में सिखाते हैं ना पहले, फ्रेंड इन नीड इज अ फ्रेंड इंडीड. अब छोटा सा बच्चा है, लेट्स से सेकंड स्टैंडर्ड का बच्चा है. व्हाट विल ही अंडरस्टैंड? ही विल जस्ट लुक एट यू, ब्लिंक एट यू. क्या बोल रहे हो? फ्रेंड इन नीड इज अ फ्रेंड इंडीड. But you call him, you make him sit, and you give him a small story. And there are two friends, Ramesh and Suresh. Now Ramesh was in problem, so Suresh went and helped him. So when Suresh was in problem, then Ramesh went and helped him. So what does this mean? Then he understands. Then what is the moral, you ask him? Then he will say, A friend in need is a friend indeed. This is the job of the Itihasas. That is the purpose of writing the entire Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Valmiki ji is writing so detailed, all the intricate, details are being mentioned. मन में से क्या करना है? What do I want to do? What do I learn by knowing about the people of Ayodhya, how they were? That's so many lakhs of years before. What do I know? That's why some people even doubt the very existence of Vedas. I mean, Ramayana itself. कौन लिखा रामायण, किसने राम देखा, and all that. This is all sheer atheism or trying to run away from facts. So, the main purpose of all the Itihasas is only to highlight the Vedas. And the Vedas are trying to say, please refrain yourself from these 4 big sins, Mahapapa. And that is meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. And this has been mentioned again and again in the Mahabharata also. And that is why we have to take the help of these, Itihasas, like Ramayana and Mahabharata, and understand the Vedic rules which are laid on for the human beings and follow them strictly. Please continue.
The ministers were all well dressed and they nicely decorated themselves. They were always thinking in the interest of their king. They were all very alert and used to observe with the eyes of justice.
One may wonder, why is Valmiki ji mentioning, their ministers were all well dressed? Suveshascha. Word used in Sanskrit is Suveshascha, well dressed. अभी वो लोग dress well करे या नहीं करे, what's the big difference for? No, there is a small shastric injunction over here. It says a person should be well dressed to attract prosperity. In earlier days, I don't know if you've seen those movies, earlier days also, and I've seen practical also. Even the beggars, poor people, their dress used to be torn, but they will put a small patch of some other colored fabric, Might be, it will be a green dress ke upar red fabric ka ek tukda rahega, small patch, and that will be stitched. But there will not be any torn marks in it. It will look odd, obnoxious, horrible. A entirely poor person, but he will never wear a torn dress. He will put a piece of cloth. And today, what is the fashion? Torn jeans pants are, it's a cult following. We see all the so-called stone wash, this wash, that wash, and holes and sing. The beggars of earlier days were more smarter than today's people. And for that, you're spending thousands of rupees to buy those dresses. But here, the Shastra says, no. If you want to attract prosperity, if you want to attract peace, अगर आपको शांति चाहिए जीवन में, अगर आपको जीवन में समृद्धि चाहिए, तो आपको क्या करना होगा? अच्छी तरह से ड्रेस करना होगा. Means you should not wear torn clothes. You should not wear dresses which are designed like torn things. And above all, dressing well means samruddhi, prosperity. There, Lakshmi Devi's blessings are there. It will come more and more. That is the reason. Please continue.
Those ministers had acquired good qualities from the spiritual teacher, Guru, and were famous for their capabilities even in foreign lands. They were well known everywhere for their intellect and decisions.
So what does this in small words indicate? भाई वो लोग भी smart बने क्योंकि they had good gurus. They had taken the shelter of a good guru. Now, I've seen this is a new trend in today's date, especially in spiritual path. People look out for gurus. Gurus who are very famous, glamorous, well known, socially well active, and then the people start giving a rating. Oh, this guru is very nice. He speaks very nicely. He speaks very softly. He speaks very beautifully. This and that. what is the criteria in which one chooses a guru? I'll put a small question before you all can think about this answer. Just imagine. All of you all know Sachin Tendulkar. So heard of the best player, Master Blaster, supposed to be the best world-class player. Who was his guru? Very few people will be knowing Mr. Acharyaker was his guru, coach, teacher, who taught him how to play cricket. Tell me, did his guru ever become a world-class player? Have you ever heard Mr. Acharyaker playing in World Cup and some couple of tournaments and making some records? Even 1/10 of what record Sachin Tendulkar made. So if had it been Sachin Tendulkar who had been waiting, let me get me a world-class guru, he would have missed the bus. बूढ़ा हो जाता था और कभी क्रिकेट नहीं सीख पाता. So what do we understand from this? क्या पता चलता है हमको इससे? What do you understand? Guru comes in life by mercy of God. Who is a true guru? One who shows you the right path to achieve God. No other way. There is no other person who can guide you in that way. So please understand, Guru aap choose mat karna. Guru is chosen up by God for you. Like how marriages are made in heaven. They get united over here. Similarly, your guru is also decided eternally. It is not that you decide on this earth. You come and choose. You can't give marks. Oh, this guru is, I'll give him 10 marks, 10 out of 10. I'll give him 6 out of 10. I'll give him 5 out of 10. No, you can't do that. Because you have to accept a guru with his, sometimes some gurus are strict, some are lenient. That may vary. But that doesn't give you any definition. Like this is the right guru for me. No. You may choose your life partner on some criteria, but guru is chosen by God himself. But without a guru, no one can become famous. No one can become righteous. No one can become virtuous. And if you want a proper guru, leave it on God. Otherwise, most of the people, what they do? Start rating God. Rating a guru. They decide, no, this is a good guru for me. He is not an idle guru. I'll keep changing gurus also. Some people have multiple gurus also. I like them also. I like him also. I like him. No, it cannot. So this is an important factor or a criteria for one's spiritual growth also. And guru is not only necessary for spiritual growth. It is only for achieving the ultimate supreme moksha. For that, you require God. Okay. So let's go to the next verse.
None of these ministers were devoid of good qualities. They were complete knowers of when war or truce had to be done. By nature, they were endowed with opulence. The ministers were capable of confidential strategy planning and also in the subtle, intelligent management of the country's affairs. They had complete knowledge of the moral codes and were pleasant in speaking. The exalted King Dashrath, who ruled the earth, was accompanied only by good-natured ministers like them.
So, just Dashratha's success to a great degree has to be attributed to the ministers. It's like the captain of a team is very important. He got to be important. He's got to be smart, intelligent, everything. But if his team members are dumb, they're not smart, they don't play their role correctly, do you think they will be able to win the match? So it's a complete teamwork. For the king, the most important is this team of ministers who are righteous and virtuous and who can help him in leading the kingdom in a righteous manner. Please continue.
King Dashratha, the tiger among men, does rule this earth by avoiding irreligiosity and by maintaining and protecting his citizens through religiosity. He observed all the citizens' activities through his spies. As he was generous and true to his words, he was famous in all three worlds. Thus, King Dashratha did not have anyone superior or equal to himself. Though he was friendly, he had subdued his small thorn like enemies with his valor. He ruled the world like how Indra ruled heaven.
Here in these two verses, Dashratha's quality of ruling by avoiding irreligiosity and by maintaining and protecting his kingdom through religiosity. These are the things which are described. Now, what is the need for Valmiki ji to describe all this? This is the pre-setting for the next chapter. The next chapter is going to start with Dashratha's worry for not having a child. So one may say, "Arey, uske karam honge uske. He must not be a good man." Here it is being mentioned very nicely. No, he is a very righteous person. He is following all dharmic rules and regulations and ruling the kingdom also with proper dharmic rules and regulations. Yes, Mataji, please continue the last verse.
In the company of the expert and efficient ministers who gave him beneficial counsel, King Dashratha had become as splendid as the rising sun with its brilliant rays. Explanation. One may not find any tangible benefits in reading this chapter, which only describes the ministers and their qualities. But the intelligent sage Valmiki had a specific reason behind it. To have a prosperous and a powerful kingdom, just a strong and religious king is not enough. The ministers who advise and execute the king's orders should also possess the above mentioned qualities. When we read Sarga 5 to Sarga 7, we can understand that the three factors contribute to having a strong and a prosperous kingdom. They are, namely, responsible citizens who are guided only by the Shastra, righteous ministers who are expert and skilled, and a religious king. These fundamental principles are valid even today.
So, for having a peaceful kingdom, तीन चीजों का जरूरत है. People at large, actually the citizens, they should be righteous. The ministers have to be also following dharma. And last but not the least, the king, he has got to be also a religious king. तीनों में से एक आजकल मिलना बहुत मुश्किल हो. People want to enjoy, the king also wants to enjoy, and ministers are already spoiled. So that is the big problem. Yes. Now you will understand what was the pre-setting done in chapter 7 to understand chapter 8. So we enter into Sarga 8. And the heading is Dashratha prepares for Ashvamedha Yagya. Very important chapter. Yes, Damini Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Though the great soul, King Dashratha, who was influential and a knower of dharma, his heart was burning with a desire for a son. He did not have a son who could continue his dynasty.
This is the most important aspect of the Ramayana. There's a very Vedic injunction which is given, has been taught over here. Dashratha was, sad, morose, and always burning in his heart that he didn't have a son. In today's date, this context becomes totally different. Today, everyone wants to have a son, and today's date has changed. Okay, now it's women are leading the world much better than the men. That's okay, but what is the purpose? Beta chahiye, beta chahiye, beta chahiye. Kyun chahiye beta? What is the purpose of having a son? Because he wanted a son to continue his dynasty. Dynasty संभालना to continue means सिर्फ एक बेटा चाहिए. Any son would do. What is the word putra is very explained very nicely. The explanation comes in the explanation. It is given very nicely. The meaning of word putra. To have a son means he will offer water oblations. श्राद्ध कर्म करेगा अपने माता पिता का, अपने पितरों का. ये और कोई नहीं कर सकता है. लेडी cannot do this. Only a man can do. And that is the reason why in those days they used to desire to have a son. There was an extra longing for a son. Was King Dashrath childless? क्या दशरथ महाराज का पुत्र नहीं था, कोई बच्चा नहीं था? था या नहीं था? Come on.
He had a daughter.
He had a daughter.
Yeah.
So he was not childless.
Hmm.
But he was still considering himself childless. Because the daughter cannot do Shraddha Karma. So he was, and had a burning desire. He was always having a desire for a son. Son means one who does the Shraddha Karma. कहते हैं पूत नाम का नरक से जो बचाता है. There is a hell called पूत. उस नरक से जो बचाता है उसे कहते हैं पुत्र. पूत some जगह पे, some places it is mentioned as पुम नाम का नरक. So there is pum or put. It is said that the son, by offering his water of oblations and doing the Shraddha Karma, protects his forefathers from going into a hellish condition, which is called as pum or. That is why it is said, Agastya Muni, it will come, the story will come in the explanation. Agastya Muni, great sage Agastya, so great. He is the one who has given the explanation for no, not the sing, not the explanation. Sorry, he has given the shloka of Aditya Hridaya Stotra. It will come in the Ramayana, and the Yuddha Kand it will come, where when Ramchandraji is not able to kill Ravana, that time he gives this Aditya Hridaya Stotra. So he's one of the most advanced Saptarishis. He's one of the Saptarishis. So Agastya Muni was once going through the forest. He suddenly saw from the tall tree people were hanging upside down. Some people were hanging upside down. So he was wondering, who are they? He asked them, who are you? Why are you hanging upside down? All those souls who were hanging upside down, they said, my dear Agastya, we are your forefathers. हम आपके पितृ हैं. What happened? Why are you hanging in such a miserable condition? I am following the Vedic injunctions. I am following the Vedic rules. I am doing all, I mean, one of the best sages in the world. But still, why are you hanging upside down in a miserable condition? They said, okay, you are fine. You are a great sage. You are doing all righteous things. But you are not married. And if since you are not married, you don't have a son. And since you don't have a son, we know that there is no one for us to do our Shraddha Karma, our Tarpana, our water oblations. Nobody was going to give us. Hence, we are in this miserable condition. Immediately, Agastya, sage Agastya, immediately created from his yogic Vedic, his yogic power, created a nice baby girl, because he knew there is no one in this creation who could marry him. And he created a small girl and gave it to a king and said, 1 year I'll come back. And then very soon he came back and she became Lopamudra, and he married her, and through her he had a son. And it is then that these people who are hanging upside down went back to their Pitraloka. That is the importance of a son. And in India, many times it is said, मेरा बेटा इंजीनियर है, डॉक्टर है, इतना दहेज चाहिए. अरे दहेज के लिए लड़के की जरूरत नहीं है. For dowry's sake, you don't need a son. It is the only reason one needs to have a son is so that he will save him from going to the Kum Naam ka Narak. Please read the explanation.
The real importance for one to have a son is given in the Shastra. A son is called a putra, as he says his father from a hell named Pu or a Pum. When one is born, he has 3 debts to repay, that is, to the sages, the devatas, and his forefathers. Following
This is very important.
celibacy.
This is very important. Many people forget this. Every being has some debts. By taking birth, he is directly or indirectly under those debts, and they are for debt for the sages, to the devatas, and to the forefathers. It is because of the forefathers that person has come to take birth. It is because of devatas who have facilitated in giving him a body, and the sages who have set up the entire dharma. So तीनों के प्रति हमारा ऋण हमेशा रहता है. Please continue.
Following celibacy, Brahmacharya, he repays his debt to the sages. By performing various sacrifices, he repays his debt to the devatas. By producing a son, he repays his debt to his forefathers. Once, when sage Agastya was traveling, he saw some people hanging upside down from a tree. Surprised to see their pitiable state, sage Agastya inquired from them. They told the sage that they were his forefathers. They told sage Agastya that as he was unmarried and childless, there was nobody who could offer them oblations after him. Hence they were in such a state. Then sage Agastya married Lopamudra and produced a son. Thus sage Agastya saved his forefathers. The Shastra also says that a person continues to live even after death in the form of his son. However, nowadays the purpose of having a son is completely misunderstood. It is of no use to have an irreligious son who will himself go to hell with his activities.
This is very important. Many people, आजकल मेरा बेटा है कर लेगा, मेरा बेटा संभालेगा. What is the use of having a son? But if you are not given him the proper culture, the proper understanding of the Shastra, finally such a child becomes an irreligious child or an atheist child. What is the use of such a child? ऐसा भी वो आपका श्राद्ध कर्म तो करने वाला नहीं है. तो बेटा है नहीं है क्या फायदा? बेटा होने का मतलब क्या है? That he will follow and do those rituals, श्राद्ध rituals after death. वो नहीं करेगा तो फिर क्या फायदा बेटे होने का? Secondly, yeah, continue. This is very important. This is another important point.
Both urine and a son in the form of semen come out from the same place in the male body. So Acharyas say that if a son is irreligious or not religious enough to deliver his forefathers, then he is to be considered no better than urine itself. Hence, the significance of having a son is very spiritual. Thus, the pain in King Dashrath's heart for a son was duly justified.
कहते हैं पुत्र और मूत्र दोनों एक ही जगह से निकलता है in case of a man. Putra in the form of a semen. So it is said, if a child is born, a son is born, and he doesn't give his, perform shraddha karma for his parents, does not perform all the Vedic injunctions which are required to be done for the forefathers, then he is as good as mutra. What is the use? बेटा है, काम का नहीं है. बेटा होके क्या फायदा? बेटा हो तो उसका बेटा होने का फर्ज निभाए. He performs the duty of a son, and the main duty of a son is to follow righteous lifestyle and to perform shraddha ceremonies to their departed forefathers. Please continue.
So, thinking in that way, suddenly a thought came into his mind. Why don't I perform an Ashvamedha Yagya, horse sacrifice, for the sake of a son?
Cool. Now we will go back to again to the earlier chapter, verse number 22 and 23. Can you please read 22 and 23 again, Manoj?
Prabhuji, 22 and 23.
Yeah.
Yeah. King Dashratha, the tiger among men, thus ruled this earth by avoiding irreligiosity and by maintaining and protecting his citizens through religiosity. He observed all the citizens' activities through his spies. As he was generous and true to his words, he was famous in all the three worlds.
So what does this mean? He was having a very righteous lifestyle. He was not following irreligiosity. He was following religiosity. Religiosity मतलब righteousness. And यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है? Suddenly a thought came to his mind. Why not perform Ashvamedha Yagya or sacrifice for the sake of a son? Yeah, Acharyas give a very nice explanation. They say King Dashratha thought maybe my punyas are less. My, what do you say, pious credits are less. If you should have pious credits to have a son, Shastra says, if you have less of pious credits, you will not have a son. But if you have a lot of pious credits, you will have a son, because the son can then follow religiosity. So he is thinking that I think I am having lacking punyas. So I will do a horse sacrifice and increase my punyas. And Acharyas give another bhava. They say how great Dashrath Maharaj must be. How much of punyas he must have accumulated to have the Lord himself as a son. Just imagine, दशरथ महाराज ने क्या पुण्य किया होगा कि उनको पुत्र के स्वरूप में स्वयं भगवान प्राप्त हो रहे हैं. और यहाँ पे and before the birth, how much of tension he is in? Arey, he is crying, I am living a very righteous life, I am not having a son, let me increase my punyas by doing a horse sacrifice. So it is really what do you say, a funny part on part of Dashrath Maharaj, though on living on rules and regulations and following dharma, he is still feeling mera punya kam hai, thoda aur badhata hu. What is the third understanding we get from this? The most important understanding. One has to adhere to the Vedic rules and rules and regulations, even at the adverse times. We also go undergo various adverse times, right? किसी को शादी नहीं होता है, तो किसी का बच्चा नहीं हो रहा है, तो किसी का कुछ काम धंधा नहीं हो रहा है, whatever it is. At all these times, we have to only strive to make ourselves more and more religious, righteous, and increase our. Please read the explanation, Mataji, once.
King Dashratha thought that maybe he did not have enough pious credits, punyas, in his account to have a son. Hence, to increase his pious credits, he wanted to perform the Ashvamedha Yagya.
See, what a royal way. To increase his punyas, he did not think of a irreligious way. He thought of a religious way. We'll take one more verse and then. Yes.
The wise and the righteous king Dashratha, after discussing with his knowledgeable ministers, decided in his mind to perform the Ashwamedha Yagya. He told Sumantra, the best of his ministers, to quickly get all the teachers and royal priests.
Take one more verse.
Sumantra, who was famous for his quickness, immediately left to fetch them all. He brought the sages Suyajna, Vamandev, Jabali, Kashyapa, the royal priest Vasishtha, and others who were all experts in Vedas and the best of the Brahmanas.
So here now the definite the description of how the Ashwamedha Yagya preparation started. And in this you will see once the Ashwamedha Yagya starts, and how all the devatas come, Lord Vishnu also comes, and then there's a very beautiful interaction, and then finally Lord decides to take birth as his son. It's all described very nicely. So we'll discuss it further in the next class. I'd like to stop the class today at this point. We'll continue next time.